Welcome back to the Fiscal Alliance Foundation podcast. I'm sitting here with none other than Paul Craney.
So the Fiscal Alliance Foundation is a nonprofit group. We're a 501c3. We kind of focus on education and awareness a little bit more than holding government officials accountable, if that makes sense. And we are starting to release a trove of emails that we have obtained in state government. And there's a kind of a famous character, the former chairman of DPU, the Department of Public Works. And this position actually is a kind of important position in state government. This position is supposed to be like the head regulator, the top dog appointed by the governor to regulate the utility companies in favor of ratepayers. So when you're complaining about your electric bills, your natural gas bills, this is the guy that the governor is supposed to appoint to make sure that costs are low and that there's a reliable grid, right? That's what we want. Those are the things that we traditionally want for energy. Well, this former DPU chair who left over the summer, his name is, and I might butcher it, but it's James Van Nostrand, and he goes by Jamie. And through a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, asking a bunch of questions in state government about him. Let's get some emails. And we posted some of these emails on the Fiscal Alliance Foundation social media, so you could check it out yourself. But there was there was an email that he sent out using his MassGov email account, not his Gmail, his official work email. And I'm going to paraphrase it, but you could actually look at the email at the Fiscal Alliance Foundation social media pages. And he basically says, hey, to his emailing, it isn't announced yet, but I'm leaving this position, and I want to talk to you about basically some job leads. Now, you would think like one bureaucrat to another entity, okay, maybe, but he's the top regulator, and it isn't announced yet that he's leaving. Oh, and by the way, the folks that he's emailing about potential jobs are people in the climate industry. So these are the people who he's supposed to be regulating. They're driving up our energy bills. Just think about that. I mean, it's not even a conflict or not even like a poor judgment call. It's like it shows the cozy relationship between our top regulator and the climate industry in Massachusetts, where he's like, hey, I want to set up a job interview.
Yes.
And no one knows I'm leaving yet.
Yes.
You know, can you chat? And it's like, what the heck is going on here?
Jamie, let me tell you something, buddy. It's not a good look.
Yeah,
okay?
not a good look.
It's not a good look. So,
I mean,
as Paul has said, we have somebody in state government that's supposed to regulate on behalf of the ratepayer, but instead he is in a position where he probably was regulating on behalf of the legislature and everybody else and himself. Let's just call it what it is.
He's trying to set up a job for when he leaves in the industry he's regulating to benefit a certain industry so they can make more money off of the backs of the ratepayers. It's so disturbing. I mean, we kind of maybe imagine this happens, but the fact that he put it in a government email just shows you how bad it is.
I mean, you really got to, when you think about it, you really got to think to yourself, think about it this way. This is the way, let's look outside the box for a second here. If I was this person, or this was you, in that position, aren't you going to go on your Gmail account or your Hotmail account or your Yahoo account or something like that? Like it's so blatant to be using your government email to send something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like that leads me to believe, again, thinking outside the box here, these people feel as though that they are untouchable, right?
Totally.
Like that's like the underlying story of what happened here, because anybody would like any kind of common sense would think to themselves, maybe I shouldn't send this from a government email. That would actually, never mind, I'm not going to say it. But it's problematic is what it is.
Yeah, it's like completely inappropriate. You would think if he wanted to have those conversations, he could do it after his 9 to 5 job.
At least try to hide it.
Yeah, or like just wait till the announcement is out.
Correct.
Like, hey, I'm lame ducked, I'm leaving. You know, like set up a meeting for after he leaves. You expect a little bit of that in state government with people, but the rub here is that he is appointed as the top regulator for the Department of Public Works. His whole job is for, grid stability and ratepayers' interests. And here he is. He's supposed to be regulating these interests, these these industries, but instead he's looking for work.
Well, it's not about our best interest. It's about his best interest.
Exactly.
That's what it's about.
But to your point, we have a few more emails that we're releasing. I think we actually just released another one today where a group of advocacy organizations reached out to him. And again, these are emails, so we have it on our social media pages. an advocacy group with the climate industry reached out to him and basically said, hey, the coalition is called Beyond Gas, so beyond natural gas. Again, natural gas keep energy low, it's reliable. And this coalition of Beyond Gas wants to meet with him in his official capacity to strategize and work together to fulfill their hope, which is to get New England and Massachusetts off of natural gas. And this is the thing that Governor Healy famously touted in her Democrat primary for governor. I stopped those pipelines. And it's hilarious because here he is again, DPU chair. He says, well, my attorney's, the attorney's going to have to reach out to you to basically make sure there's no conflict. And in this emails, you see like a whole page of black, of redacted. And that's the attorney saying, here are all the concerns we have with this type of meeting. And so we don't get that part because that's attorney-client privilege.
Of course.
But then he responds back, I'm paraphrasing, it says something to the effect of, my attorney doesn't know how difficult I am to manage, and I do want to meet with you and work together. So he's like telling the attorney to like go pound sand. We're going to have this meeting with Beyond Gas Coalition. Like it just shows you how ridiculous the Department of Public Works is with these climate industries. And Governor Healy's supposed to be putting the interests of ratepayers ahead. Instead, she's appointing these people who are just activists.
Exactly.
I mean, when their own lawyer's like saying, hey, slow down here, buddy, you shouldn't have this meeting. And he's telling to the lawyer, stand down, I'm going to have this meeting with these climate activists. He's a climate activist. If it looks like a climate activist and it squeaks like climate, it is one. Like he's proving to us, why are your bills so high? It's because we got people like this in charge of the Department of Public Works.
That's 100% true.
Department of Public Utilities. Sorry.
Department of Public Utilities.
Yeah. We have a bunch of other emails that were released in this week, particularly with the Energy Secretary, Secretary Tepper. So check out our
Don't give them a heads up. Don't give them a heads up.
By the time this airs, it'll probably be on the Fiscal Alliance Foundation social media, but yeah, it's really kind of a sneak peek to what goes on in state government when you can obtain these emails, which kind of brings me to ballot questions. There's one bad one, rent control, and there's 4 potential good ones. And one of them is forcing the legislature and the governor to the public records law. We have that in Massachusetts, but of course the legislature, the governor's office, and the courts have exempt themselves. We're the only state to have that exemption. So this ballot question would subject the legislature and the governor to the public records law. So you could obtain emails like this from, let's say, the speaker or the Senate president or whoever saying, let's set up all these coalition meetings. So hopefully that ballot question continues to move forward because it seems like state government is pretty rotten when you do get some of these emails. Somehow they do release some of these emails and you look and you're just like, wow. All of my worst hopes are, in fact, true with these people.
Anything that you could possibly imagine is true. Yeah. Like it's all true. It happens all the time. Here's a really good example. I have been waiting. It'll be a year in June. I've been waiting. I submitted a public FOIA request to the Wu administration for documents regarding the bid on White Stadium. I have still yet to receive those.
Really?
So, yes.
Wow.
It's a shame because, these are, especially when it's involved with taxpayer money, you would want to know how your money is being spent. And then, you get these little dribs and drabs on the news or whoever that they want to, their friends that they want to talk to that, things are increasing or whatever it is. And then you actually want to see why, and you don't have any information on why it's happening.
Yeah, that project's exploded too.
It's insane.
Yeah, it is. Boston, on one hand, you have the mayor saying, oh, we're going to have to raise property taxes because of commercial real estate valuations going down. On the other hand, you have, we're going to build this project no matter what the cost is to the taxpayer.
Exactly. It's a priority problem.
Yeah, it totally is.
It's solely a priority problem.
It's a leadership problem with the mayor. It's an accountability problem with the city council. And unfortunately, Boston is the largest economic engine city in New England. So it impacts all of us to a degree. So yeah, keep at it. Mayor Wu is just, it seems like she's a little in over her head in that job. Yeah. I think the city,
well, now she's partnering with all these progressive mayors across the country. So, I'm sure she's going to get a lot of fresh ideas to bring to Boston.
Yeah. Did you see she came out, this is hard to understand. She came out saying for the rent control ballot question, she'll vote yes. But she's now temporarily, I guess, against rent control.
Really? I did not see this.
Yeah. I mean, at one point she was for rent control.
Yes.
When it first came up 2 years ago. But now when you ask her about her policy, I believe she said she's like a little hesitant with it.
Well, she probably looked at the data behind it, right?
Like
She was
every study, any data shows rent control is a disaster. But then she said she would vote for the ballot question. So it's like, okay, so results and common sense tell you one thing, but ideology tells you should vote for the ballot question.
You're
Okay.
correct.
Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't be mayor.
Yeah, it's I said this once before. I know Maura Healey is actually against it. She, at least thus far, she's against.
That's what she's telling. Yeah.
Yeah, thus far.
We'll see how that ballot question progresses if she stays with that narrative. But.
Yeah, well, she's probably, let's be fair here, she's probably only saying this because it's an election season, and most common people with a half a brain would know if you do any research on rent control, it's a bad idea.
Yeah,
so it could be completely performative to the fact that, she wants to retain her voter base because maybe some of them own apartments, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it could, you could reverse engineer this, right?
Bad ideas have never stopped me before, though.
Yeah, that's true.
My conspiracy with Maura Healey is that she really supports rent control, but it's the wrong election cycle.
That's, yes.
2 years from now in a presidential year, if that same question on the ballot, my guess should be like, yeah, we need rent control. Absolutely.
Absolutely,
But they're probably saying, why would you put this question on a governor's ballot where there's lower turnout, and they much rather have it in a presidential where you have, kind of less frequent voters coming out to vote.
Absolutely.
And also it's on her ballot, so she doesn't want to talk about it.
Of course.
Yeah. So my guess is the policy, maybe she's probably indifferent at best, but she probably supports it because of who they are. But it's just the wrong election cycle. That's just my complete take on it.
Yep.
But anyways, so rent control, Mayor Wu speaking from both sides of her mouth. That is a potential ballot question. It's one of the worst written rent control laws that are getting proposed in the country, I believe. It is getting challenged at the state Supreme Judicial Court.
Yep.
It's a very quick challenge, meaning that, sometimes when you bring things to court, it can take years. This one, the court has to decide by June, roughly. So you're going to see oral arguments, written arguments. You can follow it along. But the court understands because it's a potential ballot question, they have to weigh in pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting, not to kind of nerd out too much about this, but there's this whole thing about takings clause, and I know you know this because you're in real estate, but basically this ballot question would tell property owners of banks, you cannot obtain as much money because we're going to cap your rents, basically. So a lot of contracts that are based on rent projections are going to be impacted.
Correct.
But the ballot question never talks about the takings, which is you're taking income from banks, institutions that loan money, and property owners who leverage their own resources buy these properties.
Correct.
If the legislature did this, it wouldn't be a violation. But with a ballot question, there is an exemption there is a potential issue with taking. So I think that's going to be a kind of interesting thing that the state Supreme Judicial Court is going to have to address. Because, look, if you own an apartment building, how do you get money? Through the rents. I mean, you could put a billboard, you could put some solar panels, but that's not really how you make money. So if you're going to take that away from these people, they have no other way to make income.
Correct.
And this ballot question, if it has a concern with takings, it can't go forward. In the past, they've ruled that way. So that will be an interesting one to watch if you can actually do rent control in Massachusetts as a ballot question, if it doesn't address the takings issue.
I think a lot of people forget about what happened in Fenway when there was rent control.
Yeah, I've heard about that from some of the old timers.
Yeah, you could actually go through I've watched the videos. I'll send you some. There's old videos out there. I can't remember the name of the website, but there's old videos back from, what was this, in the late 70s, I think?
Yeah.
Or early 80s, something like that?
Yeah.
And Fenway, what was it? I can't remember the name of the street. Was it Symphony? Was the name Symphony Street? I can't remember, but all the buildings were burning. Some people died.
Yeah.
Because these people, they were probably over leveraged, and now all of a sudden
they want the insurance money. Yep.
Yeah, they want the insurance money, and they just they took almost the entire street burned. It's crazy. I'm not saying that was the only cause, but it was one factor. It's wild. Anybody that thinks rent control could work, show me some data where it's worked before.
Well, it just passed recently in Portland, Maine, too.
It did?
Yeah.
That is I'm not shocked at all. Okay?
Yeah, Portland, Maine passed. I think this is year 4 in it now.
Yeah.
And now there's strong factual data out that after they imposed rent control in Portland, Maine, guess what happened?
What happened?
Property taxes went up.
Oh, of course.
I think it's $500 to $1,000 for the average property owner. So these are people who don't Okay, so just so you understand, these are people that don't own rental properties. These are people that own like single family homes, you know, that own a home. Their property taxes are going up because of rent control, because the buildings that have rental units are now getting assessed at a lower rate. And of course, Portland isn't reducing their own spending, so they're tacking on higher taxes to the residential side of it.
Gotcha.
So
there was a reassessment, and basically everybody got put into this category, and now it raised the rents of people that aren't even renting out their buildings.
Yeah. And for the people that just own properties, their taxes are going up because of the assessments of the rental units are going down. So that is a fact in Portland. I mean, that is playing out. That is actually what is happening. So government-imposed rent control has never worked anywhere. It'll be interesting to see how that potential ballot question goes forward. But there are 3 other good ballot questions. We talked about the public records law. There's a hearing this week right now on the Massachusetts legislature, all 200 lawmakers. They have this ridiculous scheme going on.
They have a lot of those. Okay?
Yeah, they do. But of course, this is how they get extra pay scheme. So it's always going to be so ridiculous. But they have this scheme that if you serve on a committee, you get an extra pay. So in theory, that would make sense.
That's the way it is, right?
Yeah,
that's the way it works.
That's well, usually it is in legislature. So if you have like an important committee, like, I don't know, Ways and Means, you would think, oh, that's a lot of work. So you should probably get extra pay if you have to serve on this committee. But of course, leave it to the Massachusetts legislature. They've created this scheme where they create a bunch of phony baloney committees that never meet.
Save the Dolphins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And all those committee members get extra pay, even though these committees don't meet. So it's just a way for leadership to basically give these rank and file members extra pay in exchange for their vote for leadership. And it's created a problem because now no one wants to say anything. I've actually had lawmakers tell me, oh, I wish I could say that, but I have a $7,500 extra payment I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
Like, that's how pathetic it is. So the idea is a ballot question that would completely redo this stipend, they call it a stipend payment scheme.
I'm right. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, if they redid it so it's a little bit more honest instead of the scheme, then that would hopefully allow lawmakers to say something.
Yeah.
Because right now it's a completely broken legislative process.
Let's just call it what it is. These people, they will get in there and they will rely on their stipends and all of these other things. And if they, as you said, if they go against that narrative at all, they'll lose them.
Yeah.
That's why you guys need to understand this. That's why here in Massachusetts, if you're wondering why everybody votes one way, this is one of the many, many reasons of why.
It's actually a big reason why.
It is.
Because for them, they look at it, I need to make this money.
Of course.
Yeah, and this is what they do. So they create this scheme where two people, the Speaker, the Senate President, use it. And unfortunately, anyone in leadership uses it onto the rank and file.
Yep.
So that is a good ballot question. And the end result would hopefully mean that more lawmakers feel like they aren't basically legally bought off for their silence.
What's the name of that ballot question?
You know, I don't know if it doesn't have a number yet.
Okay.
But it's popping up. You're going to hear a lot about it. Man,
I'm going to do a video on this.
Yeah,
clearly.
if you think the legislature is fighting the audit, man, just wait till they fight this one, because for the Speaker and Senate President and the leadership, they want this so bad. This is how they keep their positions of power.
Of course. It's all incentive based.
It is.
It's always about incentives.
It's how they buy the silence of lawmakers.
Absolutely.
2 other really good ballot questions. The first one I'll talk about is an income tax reduction. Everyone pays 5 or 9% in Massachusetts. Incomes over $1 million get that 4% surcharge, so then you're talking about a 9% rate. But this would be a 1% reduction from 5 to 4 or 9 to 8. This is a really good step in the right direction. We get asked this a lot, like, how does Massachusetts pull out of this Taxachusetts criticism? And one of the best ways is get rid of taxes altogether, or broad-based tax cuts. And this is a broad-based tax cut. If you have a job, you're going to get a pay raise. This is a pay raise for anyone that works in Massachusetts. If you earn $50,000 a year, that's $500 after taxes in your pocket that you get to keep a year. That's big bucks. So this is a very good step in the right direction. It's not going to pull us out of our Taxachusetts stigma. Unfortunately, we really dug ourselves in a big hole. But this is exactly the direction we need to go in Massachusetts: broad-based tax cuts or tax eliminations altogether. So I was actually one of the original signers in my personal capacity. This is a very good ballot question. It's going to be heavily debated. There's going to be tons of money thrown at it, because There's some estimates out there. This is a $3 billion tax cut, or some of the people that want to keep the tax rate that is, they're inflated numbers. I think they're saying $8 billion. But end of the day, it's billions of dollars back in the pockets of taxpayers. This is a multi-billion-dollar pay raise for working people. And the people at the State House who want to spend our money, who every year pass record-breaking budgets, the last thing what they want to do is deal with billions of dollars going back to the taxpayers. So they're going to fight like heck. They're going to say, if this passes, you won't have schools anymore. Firemen are going to be fired. Oh, police aren't going to be on the streets. Like, they're going to say every crazy story you can imagine. But the last time taxpayers were given this opportunity to reduce their state income tax was in the year 2000. So we had to wait 26 years for this opportunity to come back again. It is a once in a generation opportunity to send a message to the State House and nationally that Massachusetts voted to lower a very big broad-based tax, the income tax. So it'll be interesting to see. That's already been challenged. It's going to go before the state Supreme Judicial Court. There'll be a lot of groups, fighting for that tax cut. But this is a big one. This is gonna help millions of people in the state. The last potential ballot question that we're watching is actually based off of a taxpayer approved law from 1986 called 62F.
Yep.
And the last time this was triggered was in the year 2022. 62F was a law passed that basically says when state government is collecting too much tax money from taxpayers, some of it should get rebated back to the taxpayers. Makes sense. So it was triggered in 2022. Everyone got about 12% back of their 5% income tax that year. So whatever you paid income taxes, it was a 5% back then. You got 12% back of that total amount. So it was pretty big. 62F, this ballot question would make it so that it will trigger much more frequently, because the legislature, even though the voters voted for this in 1986, the legislature has tweaked it, so it's really hard to trigger. And then this ballot question would make it so it triggers much more frequently. I think once almost every other year or once every 3 years. So the taxpayers always have this like mechanism when the state collects way too much taxes that comes back to us. So those are 4 really good ballot questions. We don't get a lot of good ballot questions for the taxpayers, but this election cycle, there could be 4 really good ones.
I'm going to cover some of these because I frequently have bad news, but this is
this is good news.
Yeah, this is good news stuff. And I think that, look at it this way. A lot of people are going to be behind a lot of these ballot questions, right? The majority of them. And the fact remains, it looks, so that was in 2022. That must have been Baker's, that was his goodbye kiss, I guess, right?
It was,
Yeah.
I mean, that was also like pandemic money was flooding the state. There was so much taxpayer money.
Yes.
That was before the millionaire's tax went into effect. That was now hampering our state.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the perfect moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why the state had a surplus even after record-breaking budgets every year.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to reel it in. We have to reel it in here because I think if people knew where their money was going, but I think people are not only under the impression they know that their money is not being used wisely. That's why we have ballot questions like this.
Yeah, it's so that the public can kind of rein in the legislature.
Yep.
Some more good news, though, speaking of elections. This is a little bit in the weeds, but for our audience here, there's been these battery industrial complex proposals everywhere in the state.
Yep.
Same thing with these solar industrial complexes being proposed. I don't call them farms. Farms are good. Farms are things we think are good. That's just propaganda. These are not solar farms, battery farms. These are basically mini power plants. And they're getting proposed everywhere because of the net zero mandate. But good news out of Worthington, Massachusetts, a small western Mass town. I wouldn't call it a Trump town at all, if you know what I mean. It is it's a town that looks a lot like Massachusetts in partisan elections. But they actually voted against a solar proposal in their town after some videos from the foundation came out and some local pressure, some op-eds, and people were starting to talk about it. And they put 2 to 2 together. These solar projects for small little towns make no sense. It's basically like an unfunded mandate. The state says you have to do these things. These small towns say, I have no money to do these things. We can't accommodate this solar field. and the town of Worthington voted against it. And this was right after the town of Westfield last year voted against a similar type of project. But you're starting to see these battery and solar proposals in town governments getting voted down because they may be sympathetic to these energy sources, but they're saying, it's a mandate and it doesn't fit our town. So people are starting to wake up to this. It's good to see that even in Massachusetts, like the common sense is prevailing on these local town elections.
Sure. This is good news. I mean, these are wins.
Yeah,
right?
they are.
These are wins.
These are people making the right decisions once they have all the facts in front of them. A few more little things that were kind of note since last time we met. So the Fiscal Alliance Foundation, we focus a lot on energy issues. We are a member of something that's a little bit in the weeds, but for energy people, it's called Need Pool. Basically, we get to go to these meetings once a month with ISO New England, which is the grid for all of New England. And they obviously went through a huge storm this past winter. I think we had 9 record-breaking days in a row of cold weather. And what is the energy source that kept New England warm and powered during those 9 days? It wasn't solar. It wasn't wind. It wasn't battery. It wasn't Hydro-Quebec. It was oil.
That's right.
It was oil.
We got to bring it back. That's
oil
what we had
was
to do.
like 30 or 40% during those peak days of keeping the entire New England grid stable and warm. And obviously, if the grid fell, people would die. They would freeze to death.
Yeah.
You would have huge problems in New England. So it was life or death, and we had to use oil in New England. That's the first time that has happened like that in a long time. In fact, just those 9 days, they consumed so much oil. It was more oil than every winter up until 2017 in those 9 days. That's how much oil they had to use to keep us going. So it's interesting because for next year, that means oil prices are going to go through the roof because they just what they just went through this past winter. So if we rely on oil again next winter, guaranteed it's going to be more expensive. But these are policy decisions that lawmakers and governors are making to try to go after renewable energy sources. And when we struggle, we have to bring on stuff like oil instead of allowing for more natural gas for the region. So fascinating stuff. And probably the last thing I just want to mention is in January, this is kind of customary. In Massachusetts, we have the State of the Commonwealth. The governor goes up there for an hour. It's on TV. She kind of just talks about her issues she cares about. But it also happens in New Hampshire. It happens in Vermont. It happens in all these other New England states. Fascinating to watch Governor Healy go up there. She was talking about how one of the companies in Massachusetts stayed in Massachusetts. Like, that's a big win when a company in Massachusetts stays in Massachusetts.
Call it what it is, Paul.
Yeah, well, they had to give tax money for them to stay here.
Exactly.
And then Governor Ayotte in New Hampshire, what a contrast. She's up there talking about the New Hampshire advantage. We'll keep taxes low, no new taxes. We're bringing businesses to our state. And you have Governor Healy, very performative.
Yes, of course.
Trump this, Trump that. New Hampshire lost this one company that stayed in Massachusetts. It's all like for show.
Sure.
It's not, if you're a taxpayer, like what about me?
Yeah.
It's all about you, Healy.
Yeah.
And then Ayotte, it's very much about the taxpayer. Like, that was very clear in her speech.
There's a stark contrast between the two.
Totally stark.
Totally,
like
totally
difference.
different. Yeah, totally
and
different.
And then the other one I was looking at was Governor Phil Scott, and he was getting some notoriety, the other Republican in New England, and he was focusing a lot on affordability. Interesting. No taxes, keep taxes off the table.
That's a bad word here in Massachusetts. Be careful using that word.
And then Phil Scott talking about affordability, and then you have Maura Healey talking about Trump this, Trump that.
Yeah,
I mean, just
of course.
Very different messages. And as a Massachusetts taxpayer, you're kind of left like wanting to know more. Like, what are you going to do for us? Like, what's your vision for our state the next year? Besides, you don't like Trump.
Yeah, I'll just say this much: if you have to give incentives for business to stay and not relocate to New Hampshire or anywhere else, it's a problem. Okay, like, I mean, I understand you want to retain. I mean, there's gaining business and then there's retaining business, right? And you need to put, equal amount or equal parts into both of those categories. But I think that group or company or business, whatever it is, they would have head for the hills if they didn't get whatever. I mean, do we know what they got or no? Or is that,
I think it was like $60 million.
Okay,
if I remember.
Just right out of the back pocket, right?
I think it was like $30 million from Somerville, $30 million from the state, if I remember correctly. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and it's really a shame where you have to spend that much money to even retain, to retain talent. You know what I'm saying? I know that this is common practice, but.
Well, it's common for a state like us, but places like New Hampshire, they don't do this.
Correct, because they don't need to.
Yeah, they don't need to.
They don't need to. You need to make things affordable. Like, here's what I always say. If you make it affordable for all businesses and not some businesses, guess what will happen? You'll win.
Yeah.
But when you're hyper-focused on, either retention or whatever you're doing and you're not bringing new business in, what are we doing here?
Oh, yeah. In this case, it was hyper-focused to keep one business in.
Yeah, of course.
As opposed to attract.
Wow, congratulations. We lost 10, but we didn't even gain one. We just saved one.
Yeah, I know. By paying them to stay here.
Yeah, by paying them to stay here.
Thanks.
Nonetheless.
I mean, that's not really a business model.
No, that's not a sustainable business model.
No, it's not. But
oh my God.
Yeah, the state of the Commonwealth. I mean, just what a difference between these three governors in their approach for the taxpayers.
Yeah. That's it for the Fiscal Alliance Foundation. We'll be back maybe within the next couple of weeks with some more information for you guys. We'll see you then. Thanks again, Paul.
The Fiscal Alliance Foundation is a nonpartisan, nonprofit 501c3 organization. Visit our website to read more about our alternative energy policy studies, sign up for important email updates, make a tax-deductible contribution, and follow us on social media.